Evening. The beginning is really tough. Okay. Kohen Levi, Shekiblu Sadam Yisrael. A Kohen Levi received the field from Yisrael. Now they're the sharecroppers. Kashem Shecholkim B'Chulin, just like they divide up the Chulin, obviously in percentages. But Kach Cholkim B'Truma, so too the Truma is divided up according to percentage, is responsible for the Truma from their percentage of the field. Well, Rabbi Eliezer Omer HaMaiser Shalahen Sham Naskein Bo. The sharecroppers receive the Maiser of the entire field, or the truma of the entire field, whatever the case may be, because the understanding is when you take a sharecropper into your field, you're going to give him all the trumas and meisters. If he's a Kohen or Levi, you give him all the trumas and meisters which your field produces. Receiving the Rabboni Rabbi Eliezer, so the rabbis asked Rabbi Eliezer, "B'meh kanu? What is that's you need a kinyan? Where's the contractual obligation which demands of the owner to give the trumas and meisters to the sharecropper?" Armalam, so they said to him, "Einatem modimli, don't you concede to me? Shim hitna lo beinehem, that if there was an explicit condition that the sharecropper made that he should receive all the trumas and meisters, that in that case we say," and here the Gra changes the girsa, or some. He brings out a gears of change similar to the Gra. She'ein chokim b'maisrus, that they don't divide the meister, i.e., all the meisters go to the sharecropper, right? Which is, if they specified such.
Because the language here says she'ein chokim b'maisrus, and I thought that meant it does go to the sharecropper.
Oh, well, that word chokim wouldn't work in that context, right? It would have to be then shehu mekabel kol ha'meisters, right? So that's why the Gra changes it to the Cyprus Sun changes it to she'ein chokim b'meisters. Afilu hitnu b'meh kanu. Even they made an explicit condition. Where's the transaction? So how does it work? Stama nase. Rather, the way it works is that even though they didn't as specified, it is implicitly as if it should be. It says by me be'omer, but it should be ke'omer. Do you have be'omer or ke'omer? Be'omer. Yeah, it should be ke'omer. Stam anasa ke'omer. It's as if he says tolish min hakarka tlosh min hakarka zeh. When you uproot or harvest the stuff from the ground, shetikna loch masrois, if you should acquire its meisters. In other words, as if the owner is saying to the sharecropper, when you uproot the stuff from the ground, you should acquire the trumas meisters. So here we're right here. Amar lei. So
what's the problem with an explicit agreement for the sharecropper?
No, an explicit agreement everybody agrees. This is something to bring up to speed. We're talking about a sharecropper here who's a Kohen or a Levi. So the Mishnah said that the sharecropper gets the in Machlokas Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbanan. Rabbi Eliezer says that even if not specified, the Kohen or Levi sharecropper gets all the trumas and meisters from the entire field, not just from his percentage. Rabbanan hold only if they specify that. Otherwise, he only gets to take the trumas and meisters from his percentage of the field, not from the rest of the field which belongs to the owner. So Rabbi Eliezer has said that the reason why this is, according to him, is that if you made an explicit condition, how does that work? So we say explicit condition is as if you're saying to the fellow, to the Kohen and Levi sharecropper, when you harvest, because you're harvesting the entire field, as you harvest each bunch, right? So then you should acquire for yourself the trumas and meisters, right? So Rabbi Eliezer holds that works even when it's not explicit, but even when it's only implicit. Is that difficult?
No, it's just like. I guess the way that it's presented in terms of the language,
yeah.
I would have thought that the explicit agreement is something, what makes it effective is something beyond the letter. The presentation of it implies that there's something more than just the words that are presented there, and that's the force that makes an explicit agreement effective. So therefore, when you say...
why don't you wait a minute. Let's see what the Gemara does with here. Amrulay, it says here Amrulay, but it should be Amrulay. Ufna lace, so weird, it's a weird expression. Ufna leislun ufna. A wheel does not have a wheel. Okay? A wheel doesn't, ufna as a wheel. Leisli ufan doesn't have another wheel. Now, basically, it means that we don't say a double migo. That's what you would say in the Bavli. In other words, you want to say that even if he didn't specify as such, even the owner did not specify that he's given the sharecropper or the entire Trumas Meisers, it's as if he specified it. So he's saying that's like making a double wheel. It's like making a wheel within a wheel, meaning that you want to make, when something is not specified, to assume that it is implicit, nobody gives you permission to do so. Okay, that's really what it's saying. And the reason why it's a wheel within a wheel is because even if you want to be makne to the sharecropper, the Trumas Meisers, you have to resort to a legal stratagem here, right? What's the legal stratagem? Tell them, someday when you harvest it with the understanding that each and everything that you harvest is in order that you should acquire the Trumas Meisers. That in of itself is not outright. That's a stratagem which is employed in order to get the Trumas Meisers to belong to the Kohen or to the Levi, who is the sharecropper. To tell a person that, and to say that even if that's not implicit, that's explicit, even if it's not explicit, that's implicit, that's too large a step. That's like a wheel within a wheel, a strategy and a strategy, we don't graft that on. If you did specify it, fine, but if to just say it's implicit, that's a wheel on a wheel, we don't graft wheels on wheels. And that's, the Gemara expounds on this now. Leis l'stama, we do not assume that it's implicit. Stama means that even if not specified, do you have to show them the place? Leis l'stama, you have the exact line. Leis l'stam, we do not assume that it automatically nasa komer lo komer, that it's as if you said to him, klosh min hakarka zeh, when you, the sharecropper, harvest the ground, shika echad mi'asar shabu, and then you should acquire 1 out of 10. In other words, the meiser for yourself. That, unless it's specified, it's not assumed. Period. Tani, we learned. This is obvious. We're about to learn now. Kohen mi Kohen, if the owner's a Kohen and the sharecropper is a Kohen. Levi mi Levi, if the owner's a Levi and the sharecropper is a Levi. Yisrael mi Yisrael, the owner's a Yisrael and the sharecropper is Yisrael. Chokin l'maisus, they divide it up proportionally. Of course, because nobody has any, even according to Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer just said where it's a Kohen or Levi is a sharecropper, so it's assumed that underlying the agreement is that the Kohen or Levi is going to get the Trumas Meisers, but that's only where the sharecropper is a Kohen and the owner is Yisrael. Now where they're both of the same stature, both Kohanim, both Levim, and both Israelim, right? That's what Gemara says here. To point to whom did I have to specify this? Rabbi Eliezer. According to Rabbi Eliezer. According to Rabbi Eliezer. I forgot to Rabbi Eliezer or Marim, though Rabbi Eliezer said, Meiser Shalahem, that where the sharecropper is a Kohen or Levi. The Meiser belongs to the Kohen or Levi. Shalmanas came both because they came on that precondition, that assumption. Modu hu hacha. He can seize the point where they're both of the same stature, both Kohanim, both Levim, both Israelim. Shein chokim and Meisers are the divide of the Meisers proportionally based on the percentage of the field which each one has. Okay? Period. Yisrael shekibel sadem mi Kohen. Yisrael accepted a field from a Kohen. He is the sharecropper. Okay? Yisrael is sharecropping from a Kohen. Amar lo, so the sharecropper says to the owner, Amanash you are Meisers Shali. He wants the Meiser to be his. Yisrael wants to get the Meisers. Don't ask what he wants to do with it. He has a grandson who's a Kohen, he wants to give it to it. Oh, Shalach, or they should be yours. Says, I'll give all the Meisers to you after you are a Kohen. Oh, Shaliv is Shalach, or we should split them up percentage-wise. All these deals are mutter. There's no problem with any of that. Here's where our problems begin. Kohen shekibel sodam Yisrael, a Kohen who was the sharecropper, and from Yisrael. Amar lo, and now the owner says to the sharecropper, okay, the Yisrael says the Kohen, Amanashu Meiser Shali Mutar. If the Kohen, the owner of the Yisrael, don't ask me why he wants the Meiser's chves, he says, I want to keep the Meisers to me, I don't want to give them to you. That's okay. Shalcha Asur, if the owner says to the Kohen, I want to give you the Meisers, that's forbidden. Why is that? Because it's like right, exactly. He's being porei chovot. It's as if he's paying the sharecropper with the truma, which is not allowed to do, of course. That's absolutely forbidden. That's called Kohen HaMesayeh Beis Agronos. Since the Kohen's doing work for you, you're giving him the truma as a quid pro quo. That's not permitted. Okay? So therefore, the Yisrael can't make a condition of the sharecropping that part of what the Kohen gets is the truma. That's forbidden. Okay? Says the Gemara, We're going to qualify this a little bit in a minute. Shali v'shaloch aser. Well, even if he says, I want to divide it up percentage-wise, divide it up, so that there'll be part for me and part for you, even that's aser. Now, the Gemara qualifies. Kibla mimenu k'derech hamakabli mutar. All this is only if they didn't have a normal agreement besides the Trumas and Maasros. In other words, if they made a normal agreement, which is depending on what kind of location you live in, 33%, a quarter, a third, or a half of the field goes to the sharecropper. So if tacked on to that, the Yisrael, who's the owner, wants to give the coin the Trumas and Maasros because it's a hate, then we don't have a problem. When is this problem? V'im lav. If as part of the quarter, the third, or the half, the Yisrael wants to give the Kohen the Trumos Umaisras, that's forbidden, because that's giving him his wages in Truma. Okay? Period. V'im lav aser. Ask the Gemara, wait a minute. Going back to previously, we said if we said before that shalach is aser. Where do we see that? The line above, right? Shali mutar, shali v'shalach aser, right? So we said that that's prohibited. I don't understand. Isn't that the way it should work? That's a percentage. In other words, based on your percentage, the ma'asos are yours. What's wrong with that statement? I don't understand if you try to make it different than the normal percentage, and then you try to make a part and parcel of a special deal, then that would be aser. But here, he's supposed to get a percentage of the Trumas Umaisros, because that's how he's working, right? He's working on a percentage basis, a half, a quarter, or a third, right? So what's wrong with shali v'shalach? This is the way to, again, below kachin and amaisr shalohen. Doesn't he gonna get proportions? Why shali v'shalach aser? Elohachni, this is the way to read it. Shali. If the Yisrael says, mine is mine, in other words, the Trumas which go in my field are mine, my percentage are mine, I can do with them what I want. Shali, shalach, shali v'shalach, and your portion, in other words, the Trumas and Maasros which are go from your portion, we're going to divide up, and I'm going to take part of that Trumas and Maasros, and you're going to get to keep part of those Trumas and Maasros. If this is above and beyond a normal percentage deal, mutter, that's okay. And if not, it's also this prohibited. So there's a chiddush here. The chiddush here, it's a minor chiddush, but the chiddush is, and for some reason the Yisrael wants part of the Trumos and Maasros which are coming from the Kohen's portion. I don't know why. Again, why it should want it. Again, maybe as some other Kohen he wants to give it to. That's to make such deals. However, it's impermissible if it becomes part and parcel of the percentage share issue which concerns the Kohen. Okay? In other words, of the quarter, of the third, and of the half. If the Kohen is getting the quarter, third, and half, and above that you want to start making special deals about the Truma, that you're entitled to do. But it must be above and beyond, not part and parcel of the percentages. Okay? That's basically what it boils down to. Period. New case. Yisrael shekibel sardam Yisrael. What about one Jew gets a field from another Jew, one Yisrael, right, not a Kohen or Levi, gets a field from another Yisrael, that with the condition that the maasros from both parts of the field should go to a certain Levi. Not to either the Yisraelim, to a Levi. So Ruvain, the owner, says to Shem, you can share crop in my field, but you should know that I want the Trumas and Maasros from our field to go to Levi, not to anybody else. Is that permissible or not? Aser. That's prohibited. Now, it's interesting. Why is that prohibited? Because in this case, it looks like they're It's not 100% clear to me why it is this way, but it looks like they're making a monetary transaction or business out of the maasros. Since the maasros have become an issue of contention in the schirus, in the sharecropping agreement. In other words, I am demanding of you, the sharecropper, to give the maasros to so and so. So then already, this is not considered to be a true giving of maaser. This is dealing with doing business with maaser, and doing business with maaser is prohibited. Okay. All right. It's not. Again, I'm not sure. It's somewhat ambiguous to me why it's considered to be business, but that's the issue here.
Well, Shimon is supposed to have free choice.
Shimon's supposed to have free choice.
He doesn't have free
You're
choice.
depriving them. So you're making it part of the sharecropping agreement that you're compelled to give it. He doesn't have the... Okay, so I guess that explains it well. Okay. Shetleimani. However, if the owner says, I don't want you to give it to Levi, I want you to give it to me. Vet name Lazan, I'll give it. Mutter, that's okay. Says more what? For low doi kadmaisa, isn't this the same case as the first? Rabbi Ach, so two answers. And it goes be a big machlokus here. Rabbi Ach said the first answer is interotze beineim. Ruvain, the owner, says to Shimon, look, I don't want to apply pressure on you. You're not required to do so. If you want, give me back the maasros, and I'll give it to Levi. And then he winks a couple of times, right? Yeah, nobody can refuse. But it's an offer. It's not part of the contract. Okay? That's Rabbi Yacha's answer. Rabbi Yossi says another answer, hard to take mutter, that which it says permissible is kibla kederach hamakablin. When this amount, this maaser thing is above and beyond the normal percentage. In other words, the owner says to the sharecropper, you'll get your third, your half, your quarter, but normally you'd have to give maaser on your third, your half, your quarter. Make you a deal. Take the maaser, you get the maaser above and beyond that, give it back to me and I'll give it to a Levi. Alright, or give it to so-and-so Levi. Okay? So that's okay. It smells, but that doesn't matter. It's a legal loophole. Okay? So it says the Gemara, Vehein dat Omer also, what case is it impermissible according to Rabbi Yossi? Where this is part and parcel of the deal. There wasn't besides this any regular arrangement. Now, this machlokus is far more reaching than we think. That's what it's about to say. I said to Rabbi Yossi's answer, which was the latter answer, the difference whether there was a normal contract besides this issue about the maasros or not, is going like Rabbi Yochanan. With Rabbi Acha's answer, which was the first answer, which is that he's not compelling him, he's just requesting of the sharecropper to direct the maasros back to so-and-so Levi. That's like Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina. What does Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina say? The Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina Omar, Odom noisin ma'aschroisa b'toivas hano. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina holds, I have the right to determine who gets my maasros. I can sell that right. If that's the case, I have the right to sell that right. In other words, I can accept money. I have a large amount of maasros to give. I can accept money, as we'll see later on, for me to give the maaser to whomever you want me to give the maaser to. So since that's the case, since I have the right to accept money, that means that Tovas Hanoah has a monetary value to it. So if that's the case, so if I demand of the sharecropper, if I make a contractual obligation of the sharecropper to give the Trumas U'Maasros to Levi, so-and-so Levi, so then I'm depriving him of his Tovas Hanoah. That I'm not allowed to do. What I am allowed to do is I'm allowed to request that he give it to somebody else. Again, if I make it part of the contract, I'm depriving him of his Tovas Hanoah. That's forbidden. I can't deprive Shimon the sharecropper.
Why is that forbidden?
What?
Why is that forbidden to deprive him of the Tovas Hanoah?
I would have to pay him for it.
You're taking away his free choice.
Right, I can't make that part of a contract. It's like Masna Mashkosa B'Torah. Unless I pay him for it, I can't make it part of a contract. He has to be left with his free choice to give to whomever he pleases. It's his maaser.
I think you're talking too democratic. So what's the problem? So I'm taking away sense of choice. Big deal.
Well, then again, because that's why it becomes a business with the Maisrus. If I take away his free choice and he's contractually obligated to give the Meiser to so-and-so, so then he's not being no-saying the Meiser. He's giving the Meiser as part and parcel of an agreement, which which in essence was his rental or his sharecropping agreement. So
that's a step removed from Pareya Chova. This is not. Pareya Chova is the focus of the sharecropper with Kohen or Levi.
No, but it is. I think so. In other words, if I tell you that you have to give your true, if I tell you, listen, you want to have a field for me, fine, I'll give you a field to sharecrop, but you have to give your Trumas and Maisres to Yankel, or to Levi actually. You have to give your Trumas and Maisres to Levi. So if you don't give your Trumas and Maisres to Levi, so then you can't have the field. So then you're not being no-say your Trumas and Maisres to Levi. You're giving under duress and as an obligation, as a business deal. I don't mean duress, coerced. But it's a business deal now. It's no longer to be in the Sinas Meiser to the Levi. That's what we're saying.
But it's not
it's not a case of Pareya Chova. Okay, that's right. The Pareya Chova it's not. But still, and again, I don't know what level of parameter of Isser this is. Doing business with Trumus Maisers in this way. It's a Taraisa, the Rabbanan, it's not clear to me. I really don't know. But this is considered to be improper conduct with Trumus Maisers. Okay? So to have me deprive my right of Tovas Hanoah is considered to be an improper use of Trumas Meiser and reduces it to a business deal, that's improper. Whereas if I say I'm the owner, Reuven, I say to Shimon, listen, I'm not forcing you, but I'd like you to give it to the Levi so and so. So again, in that case, I'm not depriving the Tovas Hanoah. He can exercise his free will, right? And it may be unpleasant for him.
If you don't do it, you won't have the field.
Yeah, but you can't specify that. That's the point. You can't specify that. That might be implicit, but not explicit. Okay, that's the Tovas Hanoah's moment. Okay, that's the Tovas Hanoah is significant. There is Tovas Hanoah, meaning that there's value to the right to give by Trumus Maisers. Rabbi Yochanan says, Ein Adam Mevi Masrei B'Tovas Hanoah. Rabbi Yochanan says that there's no right, no God-given right to determine what to give your Trumus Maisers. So since that's the case, I can even make it a contractual obligation. As long as I don't make it part and parcel of the actual Kabbalah, right? I can make a contractual obligation. You lose your right to determine to give it. You never had such a right to begin with. Tovas Hanoah is not moment. You never had that right. You never lose it. I don't think that's what you're saying. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina. Yeah. Okay, but the machlokas you do understand. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina holds that Tovas Hanoah is momon. Rabbi Yochanan holds Tovas Hanoah is not momon. And therefore, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina holds that the issue is whether we're depriving the sharecropper of his Tovas Hanoah. That's what makes it a business deal. Whereas Rabbi Yochanan says, no, we don't care if you're depriving him or not. Go ahead, deprive him. That's not a business deal. What I'm concerned with is are you going to make it a part and parcel of his Kabbalah or not part and parcel of his Kabbalah? Okay? So you can deprive him of it, but you can't deprive it from him as part and parcel of his Kabbalah, because then it's like Kohen and Messiah Beis Hagronos. You're making the Trumas Maisers part and parcel of the business deal back and forth, and that's not permitted. And maybe I'm still not making myself clear. What? Yeah. Am I clear? You just don't like it, or are you doing it? Okay. So, all right. To like it, I can't make you like it. So it's not my responsibility. Says Umar, Matan Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina. What's the custom which we learn this out? Rabbi Yossi Chanina learned out from the pasuk of V'ishas kadoshav, a person's kachim lo you. They are his. Now, kachim doesn't belong to you. So what does it mean? It means you have the right to exercise. You can exercise the right to whom to give it. That's your Tovas Hanoah, which is Mavon. Xeris Akosov, right. Mavele Rabbi Yochanan. What does Rabbi Yochanan do with this pasuk? You'd name l'chol mi shiur. it means you can give it to whoever you want, but not that it's a monetary right which you have.
This whole thing is simple. There is no spark.
But it's quibbling.
It is quibbling. Yeah, it's quibbling, but we're quibbling over money. Right? According to Rabbi Yossi Rechina, Tovas and Oz Mammon. Lo means you have a monetary ownership over the right of whom to give it. Rabbi Yochanan says you have no monetary ownership over that. All you have is free will to exercise to whom to give it. Okay? Yeah, okay, it's a quibble. But so, it's a quibble which has an nafkamina. Okay? Says the Gemara, Masisa Pliga Rabbi Yossi Rechina. This following Mishnah seems to argue Rabbi Yossi Rechina, who says that there is Tovas and Hamamon. It says, Konom Kohanim Levim nanimly, if a person takes an oath and forbids all Kohanim and Levim to have any benefit from him, Yitlu Baal Korcho, they're allowed to take the Trumos of Mises from that individual against his will. So, according to Rabbi Yisrael, how can you do it? What about his Tovas Hanoah? How can you take it against the guy's will? Says Gemara, nah, there's no proof. But the law, the Gemara resolved it. It's by a guy who refuses to give his Trumas and Maises to any Kohen or Levi. If he's willing to give it to any Kohen or Levi, so we can't take it away from him against his will, because he says, I'm giving it to the Kohen or Levi in Tanzania. He's the right to do that. But what he cannot do is say, I'm not going to give it to any Kohen or Levi at all. In that case, Kohen Levine police force comes and extorts it from him. Okay? So it says that even according to Rabbi Yossi Rechina, obviously. Right? You should know this is true. The we learn Kohanim Elu, if the person said, these Kohanim, Levim Elu Nanili, I don't want these Kohanim or Levim to have any benefit from me, then those Kohanim or Levim can't take it. Yilu Acherim, others would take it, not those Kohanim or Levim. Masnisa Pliga Rabbi Yossi. We have another Mishnah charges Rabbi Yochanan. What is it? Here it should be Omer. Omer Yisrael. A Yisrael says to another Yisrael, Helach Selazu, here is a coin, V'tein B'chor Zeh, and give this firstborn calf, Leven Biti Kohen, to my grandson who's a Kohen. Right, Yisrael, whose daughter married a Kohen. The grandson is going to be a Kohen. So, I always had difficult why he doesn't want to give it to his son-in-law. There's always obviously, we can give many answers. But, he wants to give, he's paying off Yisrael, another Yisrael, to give his Bechor to Reuven is paying Shimon, both of whom are Israelim, to give Shimon, that Shimon should give his Bechor to Reuven's grandson who's a Kohen. Okay? Okay. Patala, so they answered this. So it's a Kash Rabbi Yochanan, because you see explicitly Tovas and Osworth Mammon, right? I can pay somebody I have to pay somebody in order to get him to direct his Bechor to somebody, to my grandson. So you see explicitly Tovas and Osworth Mammon. So Rabbi Yochanan gives an answer which I don't really understand. I mean, I can read it and understand the words, but it seems to be very lame. Pasala Rabbi Yochanan resolves this, B'choitza litno l'shnayim kohanim. The owner of the Bechor really wanted to give it to two Kohanim, Uben Bito Echomem, one of which was the other Yisrael's grandson. He couldn't decide which. So the grandfather says, let me help you make your mind. But he's not paying him for the Tovas Hanoah. He's not paying him to direct his choice. He's trying to help him make up his mind to whom to give. Do you see that distinction? It's a very fine distinction. That's Rabbi Yochanan says, according to Rabbi Yisrael, you're paying him for his Tovas Hanoah, right? To whom he's going to give it. According to Rabbi Yochanan, you're giving him clarification money, okay? That he should be able to make up his mind properly, okay? So, he says, take the selah, v'tein kulon, give everything leben bito to his grandson, Kohen, who's the Kohen. Boy kume Rabbi Zira. They asked him for Rabbi Zira. B'hada Kohen liYisrael. Ma. What can the Kohen himself pay Yisrael to give him the Trumas of Maisos or the Bechor or whatever it is? Coin himself. Can a coin go to Yisrael and say, your Tova Sana is worth X amount of dollars, right? Here's X amount of dollars, give me the Bechor.
Sounds like he's buying the Bechor.
Yeah. Buying the option, right? Can he do that? What? What Rabbi Yosef ben Chanina Omar? What Rabbi Yosef ben Chanina say in such a case? Would he allow this or not? Lo agivun. Rabbi Zira didn't answer the question. Rabbi Chizkiya b'shem Rabbi Acha Amar Hachin Amar Lo. No, Rabbi Zira did answer the question. This is what he said. Al daiti Rabbi Yosef ben Chanina. According to Rabbi Yosef, coin l'Yisrael lo amu aser. It is aser. The Kohen cannot buy the right from Yisrael. But only why? Lo mivnei Marasayin is not because of Marasayin. It's because of Marasayin, not because of anything else. Improper. Looks improper. That the Kohen's buying from Yisrael. Again, he's only buying the right, but it looks like he's buying the actual Bechor. Uf Rabbi Yochanan, if one could say that even Rabbi Yochanan, Isle Yisrael Aser, even though he doesn't hold of Tova Sana, right? So the Chor according to him it should be mutter, right? So what if I give him $1? What difference does it make? I'm just helping him. It's not just a clarification of money, right? No, even Rabbi Yochanan says it because of Marisayin. Okay, Rabbi Yochanan also says it because of Marisayin. Amar Rabbi, it should be Rabbi Yossi Barbun. Rabbi Yossi Barbun said, "What do you? Chilu kochim yeshkan. This is not just Marisayin. To pay for matanos is being mechal kochim. Makes the whole thing a racket, Chicago Alderman style. That's no good, right? The Tomer b'ivnei Marasayin, calling Marasayin, it's much, much worse. And furthermore, this can be derived following pasuk. It's from following brayso. The time we learn Hakwanim Alvim Masayim Bebeis Agronos. Kohen Levim will help out in the silo in order that at the end of the day they should take home the Trumas and Maasros. Ein Lam, you cannot give them. Lo Truma v'lo Maaser, not Truma nor Maaser. If you gave it to them, Ha'geiz Chilul desecrates the Truma Maaser. Shneimar says, V'chalu es Kodshei b'nei Yisrael. They should not desecrate the sacred property of the Jews. V'hein Mechalin Oisan. And this is considered to be a Chilul. Yosim Mikan Amru. More than this, they said. Truma, if somebody takes up Truma and gives it to a Kohen in this fashion, so it's not the rice, obviously, but Mirabanan, we view it as if he never gave Truma. Umasroi's son, Eino Meiser, and his Meiser as if he never gave Meiser. Fekdeshon, and his Hekdesh, Eino Hekdesh. Valeim Uomer, and concerning people who make such deals with Kohanim Leviim, it says, Rosheh, its heads, B'shoichad Yishpotu will judge with bribery, the Kohaneh b'mechir yoru, and its Kohanim for a price with Paskin Shilos. And Hamokum maybe Alim Sholosh Puronos, therefore Hashem brings upon them 3 punishments. Although see, like it says, Lochein, therefore be Lachem, Tzion Sodeh Techarash. The Tzion will be plowed under, and there are a couple of other punishments which are mentioned in that pasuk. Masisa Pliga Rabbi Yochanan. There's getting back to Rabbi Yochanan Shita. At Tova Sana in a moment. What about following case? It says, I'm a Kaddish if I marry a woman by giving her Truma, I'm Yisrael. I marry a woman giving her Trumos, Maestros, and Matonos, right? The Zrol Chaim and Keva. Mechatos, the water to be used for Paraduma. Upevachatos, the ashes of Paraduma. Harez Mukudeshes, she's Mukudeshes, Abish Yisrael, even though the Mekadesh, the groom, is Yisrael. What's difficult?
She can't use it for anything.
So what does she have in it? Only what she's getting from him? Only Tova Sana. Yeah, we see she's married. What does she get from him? The right to give it to whichever coin she wants, which is obviously worth a pruta. So we see here clearly that Tova Sana's moment, because otherwise why would she be Mekudesh? Why would she marry? Tzorol Chaim and Keva. Matosko, which go to a coin for a regular animal, which are the front Zroa, L'chayim, and Keva. Okay? No, Chulin. This is Matana from Chulin. From Zvachim, it's Chazav V'Shok. Okay? So name it. So it's difficult. What does he have here? So the answer is talking about B'truma shenafla me'avim kohen. This is a grandson we're talking about a few lines ago. He is, but no, it's not the same grandson. On the contrary, here the grandfather is the Kohen and the grandson is Yisrael. So there's a grandson, right? His mother inherited his grandfather had no male heirs, so his mother inherited all of his grandfather's property, and she married Yisrael, and he is his mother's heir. So therefore, he inherited truma from his grandfather's house. So therefore, he actually owns the truma. He can't eat it and she can't eat it. That doesn't matter because she can sell it. Okay, it's not just Tovas Hanoah here, which he has actual ownership in the truma. This is important to know. Yisrael can own truma. He can buy and sell truma. He just can't eat it. And if it's a truma that he himself separated, then he doesn't own it. All he has there is the right of Tovas Hanoah determining to him to give it. Okay? Says the Gemara further, new case. Kohen shemachar sold Yisrael, Kohen who sold the field to Yisrael. Varmaloni said to Yisrael, I'm not sure Meiser Shali. I'm selling to you in the condition that all Meiser which comes to this field goes back to me. I'm Meiser Shalo. That works. The Meiser goes back to the original owner, who's to the Kohen. Maushim Yimkara LeKohen. Let's give names here. Ruvain Kohen sells his field to Shimon Yisrael. He makes a condition with Shimon Yisrael that all the Trumas Meiser should go back to him. Can Ruvain Kohen now sell his right in the field to the Trumas Meisers to David Kohen? Do you have that case? He doesn't have the field anymore. He has a right to the Trumas Meisers. Can he sell the right to the Trumas Meisers? This is a very lumbish question.
Assuming the first right was legal.
Right, it was legal. Ruvain was allowed to retain that right. Can he sell that? You say, why not, right? You guys are wrong. Let's learn from the following case. By the way, I'm shocked by this Yerushalmi too. It's amazing Yerushalmi. The Shmini said, if I sell my maisrus, the maisrus of my field to you, lo asa klum. Why is it lo asa klum? Think earlier. Guys are thinking too lomdish. I can't sell my meiser. It doesn't exist yet. When does it become meiser? Afterwards, right? So I'm moicha meiser sadei l'chaver. If I want to sell you the meisers in my field, whether I'm a Kohen or a Levi Yisrael, and whether we're talking about the meiser itself, no, it's not germane. I can't sell any of that. Why? Because right now, what is it? Davar shlo balola. Lo asal klum.
What's the Yerushalmi itself? There was no hafrasha. There was the object. That's still Yerushalmi.
You don't even. The grain is not even there yet.
It's futures.
It's futures, yeah.
The grain's not even there.
This is soy. This is wheat futures. But you know, oh yeah. But you know what? Let's even say the grain is there. Let's say grain is there. You know what it's like? Rabbi Meir holds you can marry a shiksa. Remember that? You can marry a shiksa because she's going to be Megayir, if she intends to be Megayir. Chachamim argue. Chachamim say it's a davar shlo ba'olam. Hi, she's around. Right now she's a goy. Your case is parallel to Rabbi Meir. Okay? Right now it's Ayah Meiser. Hi, the grain is there, so what? It's like the shiksa who tends to become Jewish. That doesn't work. Only works if somebody can sell davar shlo ba'olam. Lo asal klum. Vlad shivchas chaver. Simply, if I want to sell my shivchas children to my friend, lo asal klum. It doesn't work. Over uboy behemto l'chavero. Want to sell my animals' fetuses to my friend, lo asal klum. Doesn't work. Avir chuvas l'chaver. Want to sell the airspace in my ruin to my friend, lo asal klum. Ella, what can I do? Mochelo, so I can sell my field to my friend, u'mishayir lo ma'aser and retain the rights to the meiser. It's an interesting thing, because then I retain a certain right in the field for the meiser to eventually produce. You know, I don't even know. Upon reflection, I don't know if the Yerushalmi holds that way. Maybe let me say the Yerushalmi holds like this. Why not? Yerushalmi holds I can't sell a davar shel, but I can keep a davar shel b'olam. Is that clear?
Well, that's what proving, coin.
Yes, that was the deal he made. I can keep a davar shel b'olam. I can't sell a davar shel b'olam. I can keep it, and this probably is a right in Noida B'Yehuda. The Noida B'Yehuda doesn't say specifically. There's a interesting big day sheish on this topic, but the Noida B'Yehuda says that a davar shel b'olam is a chesron gmirus das. So here that makes sense. In other words, people they can't deal with buying and selling things which don't exist yet. It's not for real. They don't have full das to do so. So therefore, one could draw a very, very logical dichotomy then between selling a davar shel b'olam and retaining a davar shel b'olam. It's not something which is a negotiable commodity, but it is something which I can have the right can retain, and that's what the Yerushalmi here is saying. I can retain a davar shel b'olam, I cannot sell it. I like that shot. Okay, so in any event, so that's what it says here. Yeah.
When it says Corvos, building already destroyed.
Yeah, the building's already destroyed.
Your rights are right there.
You can't sell them. We'll come to that. The one is going to expand on that. Ella Moichlo saw that what can I do? What I can do is self-fulfill the Mishaylo Masrosa and leave the Mises for myself. Moichlo Shivcha, I can sell a Shivcha, Mishaylo Vlad, and retain the Vlad for myself. Moichlo Veim, I can sell an animal, Mishaylo Ubore, I can retain the Uber for myself. Moichlo Churba, I can sell the, I can sell a ruin and retain the airspace for myself. Says more, let's go back to the case before. You can't sell airspace. There's no such thing in halacha. If I'm peeping Tom, I'm depriving you of the right to use your yard or your roof, not the right to use the air. There's no airspace there.
Further extended, somebody has a property.
Yes.
Cannot build up against that person's property.
That's different. No, you're not allowed to build up. Then not because it's real, but because you can't make his property dark. But that's not because of airspace. It's because he wants to have windows or his light. Yeah. What bothers you? Airspace of rights doesn't exist in halacha. It's a modern invention. That doesn't exist in halacha.
That is the airspace issue.
No, I don't see why you say that.
Airspace only exists in Tumah, right?
Right? Yeah, Tumah B'Kasbola. But the whole concept of selling the rights over your building now, which we have in modern law, doesn't exist here. I mean, that's what it's saying here. There's no Avir Chubasel, you can't sell. So it says, what was the Ami you can sell Avir Chubasel? It's air, you can't sell air. So it says an interesting thing. The way it would work is that you would say, take from the land. Tlosh doesn't mean, if I understand correctly, it doesn't mean take a piece of the Churban with that take some air which is attached to it. It means rather is that I'm giving you to acquire a piece of this Churba which is there and retain the right to the air above it. So even that doesn't work, okay? There is no concept of buying airspace, even piggyback on the actual property itself. Okay, so it says we're now, in other words, it's not outlandish. Wherever has the property is the rights to everything above it. That's what it boils down to. I can't sell you, in other words, in modern terms, I can sell you the rights to build over my building. There's no such thing in Allah. I can let you build over my building, but I'm not selling you anything. Okay? So, says the Gemara, going back to the original question, Vikar, in our case, Karkel, in other words, with Reuven Cohen and David Cohen, Karkel in front of. Shomer Lo, the land is in front of him. Well, it's actually, there's a kasha. Vikar, Karkel in front of Shomer Lo, Klosh Mer Karka Zeh, Shetikna Echad Me'asor Shabo. Here, yeah. Let me read that again now that I remember what it says. Vikar, in this case, Reuven Cohen sold to Shimon Yisrael the land, retaining the rights to the Maasros. Now he wants to sell the rights of the Maasros to David Cohen. So how's it going to work? Vikar here is Karkel in front of, does Reuven Cohen have any land? Shu Omer Lo, that he could say to David Cohen, Klosh min karka zeh, make a kinyan on this karka, shetik ne'echad me'asor shabo, in order to acquire the 1/10, in order to acquire the maasros on it. There's no negotiable commodity here. Shimon himself, Reuven Cohen himself, could retain the rights to the maasros because that doesn't have to be a negotiable commodity. You can retain a davar shelo b'olam, but he has no mode of transfer by which to transfer that right to the maaser to David Cohen. He can't do that. What kinyan could he make with David Cohen to be makna to David Cohen the right? It's like trying to be makna airspace. It's not, doesn't work. There's no way to be makna it. It's a fascinating on Yerushalmi, if you really think about it for a moment, that Yerushalmi says that I can retain a davar shel b'olam and it's real, but I retain it. But there's no way I can transfer it. It's a right which is absolutely non-transferable to anybody else. Okay? There's simply no way for me to be makna to somebody. So retention is much stronger than hakna. Now, new case. Kohen shemochar Sadel Yisrael. A Kohen sold the field to Yisrael. V'amalei said to the Yisrael, I'm not sure Meiser Shali. I want the Meiser to be mine. That works. I'm Meiser Shaloi. You can retain a davar shel b'olam. However, the weakness of this situation means, mace, what if the Kohen himself dies? Reuven Kohen dies. Ein Labana b'maasros. His children don't have any right to the maasros. Since retention is not valid ownership, upon his death it expires. No, unless he said, Li ulivni, Li v'lioshai, he specified. He can specify it. Yeshua Maasros, Ulubana Maasros, Uliyosher Maasros. In that case, he and his kids and his children have, and his heirs have it. Rabbi Yudin Bar Sholem Ba Kumid Rabbi Yesi. Akadum Yorshim Mida Shein Mida Devar Torah. Till now, you spoke about Yorshim which are Doraisa. But you should know, I feel of Yorshim Shein Devar Torah, plus the Yorshim which are not Doraisa. One of which, according to the Stipler's son, which is the Rambam Shita, is that a husband who inherits his wife. Husband inheriting his wife is not a Doraisa, it's the Rabbanon, and there too it applies that the husband inherits the right to the maasros, which his wife might have once had in the field. Okay? Says more, Shayu call Maaser Shelo. What if the guy, Reuven Cohen, made a condition with Shimon Yisrael? The Maaser should be his. Calls Manchula fun of as long as Shimon Yisrael owns the field. So, in that case, calls Manchula fun of as long as it's in front of Shimon Yisrael, as long as he owns the field, all the Maasers go to Reuven Cohen. What if Shimon Cohen now sells Shimon Yisrael sells the field to another Yisrael? Well, ain't lo b'maasros. Tough. Right? Reuven Cohen has any more right in the rights. Complicated case. Reuven Cohen sold it to Shimon Yisrael, retained the Maasros. Shimon Yisrael sold it now to Levi Yisrael. Okay? Levi Yisrael doesn't have to give the Maasros to Reuven Cohen. Now Levi Yisrael sells the land back to Shimon Yisrael. The original deal kicked back in. What? Okay, we'll see. Still contract, all right? Let's see. It's going to be a machlokas. What? Yeah, of course. He took it back. Took it back. Tani Rabbi Chia says, "Ain't lo b'maisros," like you said. It's a new deal. Rabbi Yosha said, "Yesh lo b'maisros." Rabbi Yosha says, "No, he gets the maisros." Asyun ilim plukta. This machlokas is going like ilim plukta, like palgusa, like another machlokas. Tetziyah Tamon we learned in Ksuvas. Ramagarish is ishto. Ramagarish is somebody divorces the wife. It's Aisha. So he divorces the wife, B'chzir and takes her back. That's Ksuva Sarisha Nechzir. She gets back the Ksuva which she originally had. That's for sure. Okay? That's, I guess, it's my base. However, what about the dowry besides that, the Tosefes Ksuva? Tan Rabbi Chana Kumi Rabbi Law. Rabbi Chana said in front of me, Law, Train Amoroi. There were two Amoroi who argued about this. Chad Amar one said, the Ksuva, she goes back to original Ksuva, Avalot but not the additional Tanai Ksuva. Above and beyond. The Charana Amar, which is the additional Tosefes, you give a woman when you marry her. The Charana Amar, the other one says, Bain Liksuva, Bain Litzanoin. She goes back both to original Ksuva, whatever Zuz it was, and the additional amount above that. So L'chaira, here the gear's a little bit messed up in a couple of words. Madamar Liksuva, Lo Litzanoim. He who says that she goes back to original Ksuva, but not to original Tzanoin, the additional amount, so he'll hold Ein Lo B'maisros. Right? Change the word Yesh to Ein. He holds that, you don't go back to the original deal. It's like you don't go back to the original type Ksuva here, you don't go original. What?
She's a second marriage for her.
You're consistent with what you're saying over here. But the other perspective is he married her Absula way back when. So whatever love he had for his Absula, that ever endearment she had then should continue now as well. Okay? I know you don't see that side because you're biased. So, okay. You're good in good company, right? Mother Ben L'Ksuva Ben L'Tzayim yields that she goes back both to original Ksuva and to original Tzayim. We'll hold here Yesh Lo B'maisros, right? That he does go back to the same deal with Maisros. Vatani, let's ask a question like this: Kibel Sadami Kohenes. You bought a field. You sharecropped the field from a Kohenes. So Kohenes owns the field. She is the daughter of a Kohen. She's a Kohenes, a single one. HaMaisros Shalah. So she makes the deal that she wants to keep the Maisros. He says, so what if she then marries Yisrael? Chokim b'Maisros. In that case, so of course, so she has no greater right of the Maisros. So then the Maisros get divided up percentage like any Yisrael to Yisrael field. The Sarmalon is Garsha. What if she gets widowed or divorced and she becomes a Kohenes again? Chazal Tchilas, she goes back to original deal. So these Garshas lav Dafka, I think. Because Kohenes who's a Grusha can't eat Truma. Okay, so I don't know. It's only Kohenes from Yisarmala. He's specifically referring to if she was widowed. So in any event, Yisarmala goes Garsha Chazal Tchilasa. It's a right against Dr. Spindel. Right? Why it's not the same? The Gemara is going to say it's not the same. But you understand why it's a raya against you, right? Because here, she goes back to the original deal. This one, it's not really the same case. When Shimon Yisrael sold to Levi Yisrael, that obliterated the original deal, right? Even if Shimon Yisrael buys it back. Here, she just sharecropped it out. Right?
I was going to say that she goes back to her original status.
Yeah, but it's not her in this case, but rather
buys back the land.
Yeah.
He's not really going back to the original status.
It's a new thing, right? Yeah.
It's a new deal. The marriage is a new marriage when she gets remarried.
No, which gets divorced or single. Becomes single again.
No, I mean when he marries her the second time.
No, here it's different.
Not this case, the case before.
Okay, what case before?
Where he marries her, divorces her.
Yeah, oh, okay, yeah.
Here she goes back to her status.
She's reverting to a status. All right, maybe one could say. You don't want it. Is there an alarm? You have an alarm or something? Okay. In any event, so the Gemara's answer is somewhat different. The Gemara's answer depends what kind of agreement. With the Mechira, the original deal is obliterated. Here she was Mekabel. Here it's a sharecropping deal, so it just reverts when she gets widowed or divorced. Vatani Rabbi Chia Machra. Didn't Rabbi Chia say Machra? That this is, she even goes back to the original deal when she sold it. Amar Shulbar Dimikret Tamon Yotza Mirshu Shneim. Now, in our deal, in other words, when Shimon Yisrael sold to Levi Yisrael, so then the field was no longer any affinity neither to the Kohen, neither to Reuven Kohen, nor to Shimon Yisrael. That's it. There no longer is any affinity. All the original antecedents are gone. They're gone, and forever. Now Shimon Yisrael buys it back from Levi Yisrael. That's a new start, a fresh start. But here by the Kohenes, Yotzas Mirshus Moicher, Yotzas Mirshus Lokeach. Here by the Kohenes, it left the reshus of the seller, of the woman, but it didn't lose the reshus of the buyer, meaning that it was never given to a third party. It was always within the two parties between whom the original deal was struck. It's true that her status changed in the interim, but that was a temporary thing, and besides that, it never left those two parties between whom the deal was struck originally, and therefore it can revert later on back to the original deal. Okay? Period. New case. Except those two. In other words, where it was always stayed between the Kohenes and the buyer with whom she made the deal. In the middle, the Kohenes became unfit for the contract. But since it was still in the same buyer's hands, so when she becomes fit again for the contract to reapply, so then she goes back to the original status. However, in the case over there, in the case of our case really, the case we are talking about, when it goes to Levi Yisrael, when he buys it, so then the entire relationship between Reuven Cohen and Shimon Yisrael is obliterated forever, because it already left their domain and went to a third party. Okay? Kohen Shemach sold to Yisrael. A Kohen who sold the field to Yisrael. Var Maloni said, "Amanashu Meiser Shali Shalo Arba v'Chamesh Shonim." The Kohen sells the field to Yisrael and says, "I want the Meisers to be mine for 4 or 5 years, a limited time." Yochlu Limchos Biyado. The Kohen who sold to Yisrael has certain rights over the field. And he can shalolita kerem, and he can limit what Yisrael bought plants there. He can say, "I don't want you to plant the vineyard." Shalozar Isus, and I certainly don't want you to plant it with paint bushes which grow paint. Or not to make it a field for growing reeds. I want specifically food there, and food from which I'm going to be able to get the Trumas Meisers. Okay. Wrong. Really? How you know if somebody trying to break in? Yeah. They're in the parking lot here? In the back. Okay, but the alarm didn't go off? Okay. All right. Now, let's do this again. Kohen Shemach sold to Yisrael. A Kohen who sold the field to Yisrael normally said, "I'm not sure Meiser Shalo. I want to retain the right to the Meisers. Arba Chamesh for 4 or 5 years. Yochlu Limchos Biyado, so he can protest the buyer that the buyer Shlolita Kerem cannot plant a vineyard there. Why? Because the buyer plants a vineyard for the first 3 years. It's going to be Orla, and they don't lose 3 years of the Trumas Meiser which you could have gotten. So Luzar Istis, he could protest that you shouldn't grow paint bushes in the field, because from paint bushes no Trumas Meisers. You just get paint. So Asosa stay kinim, not to make it a field of reeds, because from reeds you don't get Trumas Meisers. However, that's only if the Kohen said I want to retain the Trumas Meiser for 4 or 5 years. Shalom, if he said I want to retain the Trumas Meiser forever, he doesn't have that kind of rights. He can't have rights forever to impede the buyer from planting there what he wants. He can't say they should be able to plant the vineyard there. They should be allowed to plant paint there. They should be able to plant reeds there. Okay, as uvda kumiravacha bar law. It's a case which came Taka. A Kohen sold a field to Yisrael. They said, I want to retain the Trumas Meiser forever. Well, the Yisrael said, you know what, I'm going to plant reeds there. You plant reeds. So what was the psak? There's no Trumas Meisers. So what did he paskin? Rabbi Yachar law paskin. The chive mitanle required the buyer, the Yisrael, to give the Kohen chad min asar dekan. You had 10% of the reeds. So he couldn't. There's no Trumas Meisers, but 10% of the reeds he could make him give. Okay, so that was the Trumas Meisers. Yisrael shemachasar leKohen. Yisrael sold the field to Kohen. He said, I'm not sure a Meiser Shli Arba Chamishon. I want the Meiser to be mine for 4 or 5 years. Mutter, that's okay. I'm an Olam Aser. However, if the Yisrael, now, why does Yisrael want the Trumas Meisers? Again, some Mishugas. He wants to do something to them. He has a grandson who's a Kohen Echves. But he wants the Meisers for 4 or 5 years. That's what he's allowed to do. But if Yisrael says to the Kohen, I'm selling you the field, I want to get the Trumas Meiser from here forever, that's also. Why? Interesting svara. Shein Kohen Osa Kohen. Because this would create an intolerable situation. That the Kohen would be making the Yisrael a Kohen. He'd be always having to give Trumas Meiser to Yisrael. That's preposterous. That's the antithesis of what the Torah demanded. So it's like Masna Mashkosa B'Torah. Though it's to make a temporary 4 or 5 year range in this case, that's alright. But that should permanently be like this, that forever and ever, the Kohen has to give Yisrael Truma Meiser, that's preposterous. We can't allow such a thing. It's just beyond the pale of reason. Okay? Kohen Shemachar sold to Yisrael, a Kohen who sold the field to Yisrael, for Amalai said, I'm not sure Meiser Shocha Arba Chamesh Shani. A Kohen sold the field to Yisrael. And he said to the Yisrael who's buying it, I'll tell you what, I'll provide you with the mice of 4 or 5 years also. That's forbidden. Why? In the previous case you said it's permissible. A Yisrael can demand 4 or 5 years of the Trumas Meisers of the field he's selling to a Kohen. But you're saying the Kohen cannot tell Yisrael, you keep it for 4 or 5 years. What's the difference? So there's more, very simple difference. The Yisrael says to the Kohen, I want the Trumas Meiser for 4 or 5 years. The Trumas Meisers are in whose hands? The Kohen's. The Kohen can acquiesce to that agreement. You say, okay, for the next 4 or 5 years, the Trumas Meiser, which I could have kept, or given to any other Kohen Levi at my discretion, I'll give them to you. Fine, that works. However, but in the second case, the Kohen says to Yisrael, you know what, for the next 4 or 5 years, you keep the Trumas Meisers in the field. The Kohen doesn't own the Trumas Meisers. He doesn't have a right to tell Yisrael to keep it the next 4 or 5 years. The Shevet of Kohanim owns them. The tribe, if anything, but not this particular Kohen. He has no right on his own to be Meichel for the entire tribe. Therefore, he can't tell the guy, here, keep them next 4 or 5 years. That's not his right. Okay? New Mishnah. Mahaloch Gimel. Yisrael Shekibel, go for another 5-10 minutes. Yisrael Shekibel mi Kohen, umi Levi. Yisrael received from a Kohen and Levi a field. HaMaisus l'bayil, the Maisa goes to the owner. Rabbi Shmuel Omer, in other words, in this case, the Yisrael says to the Kohen Levi, the owner says, we want the Trumas Meisers. It's our field, your sharecropper, give it to us. Rabbi Shmuel says very interesting derivation of this. He says, Akartani Shekibel Sadim Yerushalmi. Somebody lives in the hinterlands, receives a field from Yerushalmi. Meiser Sheni Shel Yerushalmi. Yerushalmi says, I want to keep the Meiser Sheni. Because I'm Yerushalmi, I can eat Meiser Sheni. I want to keep the Meiser Sheni from the field. You give it back to me. You're the sharecropper. Chachomim, that deal doesn't work. Because the owner has no more inherent right to the Meiser Sheni than the sharecropper. Because the kartoni, the sharecropper who lives in the hinterlands, literally in the kiryot, in the other cities, can go and eat in Yerushalayim as well. So therefore, he can't make the owner cannot make this demand the sharecropper. Al daiti to Rabbi Shmuel, according to logic Rabbi Shmuel, ilu kohen tameh. So ask more according to Rabbi Shmuel, how far is he going to take this? What about if a kohen tameh was a partner or sharecropper, imator? Shemei chokim b'maisrus. Can the kohen who's Torah say to the kohen who's tameh, I want the maisrus because you can't eat them anyway? Does it go to that extent? No. Says where Taman Yochul L'Mochel L'Kohen Tor. There, even Rabbi Shmuel agrees, the Kohen Tameh can't impose such a condition because the Kohen Tor can't impose such a condition because the Kohen Tor will say, fine, it's true I can't keep him, but I'll sell him to a Kohen who's Tor. However, here it should be the next word should be Tzorich. Tzorich HaKartoni La'alos V'Lechol B'Yerushalayim. Here, the person from outside Yerushalayim will not want to take the fruit of Yerushalayim. It's too much of a hassle. So therefore, on that side, it's clear to us that he's willing to acquiesce, and he's perfectly fine with this condition that the Trumas of Meiser should go to whom? Should go to the owner of the field, who's Yerushalmi. Okay? The Truma, the Meiser Sheni, I should say. All right. Halacha down. Hamakabah Zeis Hashem. We haven't done two blot yet, have we? Not yet. Hamakabah. Yeah. Hamakabah Zeisim L'Shem. Somebody received oil for it to make, olives to make oil. So this is like sharecropping. We're not sharecropping in the field, we're sharecropping in the the oil making process. Hamakabah Zeisim L'Shem, you receive olives to make oil. You're a sharecropper, well, I'm not sure what you call that. You're a contractor. Right. Just like they divide up the chulin, right? They're going to divide up the oil which is produced. For some percentage will go to the owner of the olives, and the other percentage will go to the presser. So do they divide them in truma. Rabbi Yehuda says if Yisrael received olives from a kohen Levi, zeisim l'shemen, the olives to make oil, l'machti schar, then he's going to get half of the proceeds. Hamaisus the bailim. The kohen Levi, who's the owner, can retain the right to the maestros on the entire stock of olives. Rabbi Yehuda says more of it zeisim kakarka. He says zeisim are like land. It's like by land, like we said in the previous Mishnah. If a kohen Levi sharecrops out to Yisrael, the kohen Levi can retain the rights to Trumas Hamaisus. So too, if a kohen Levi contracts out the olives to the presser, he can retain the rights to Trumas Hamaisus. The Rabboni lo'adi zeisik karka. Rabbanan do not give olives the same parameter as land. They say olives are different. By olives, the kohen or Levi, even if they own the olives, cannot impose this condition on the contractor for reasons which are not 100% clear, at least as of yet. Me'ata, if you're going to say that that's the case, the Rabbi Yehuda doesn't draw a distinction between land and produce. In Yizbar, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Eliezer. If Rabbi Yehuda is like Rabbi Eliezer, who says the opposite case, that a kohen Levi who sharecrops the field from Yisrael owner, the mices belong to them. So again, Rabbi Eliezer, the kohen Levi are the sharecroppers. They get the Trumas Hamaisus. Shamanas came both because they came with that expectation. Here too, kohen Levi should keep. Shamanas came both. V'achi kohen Levi should keep Lusada mi Yisrael Hamaisus Shalohen. The word sada is extraneous here. It should be Hachi Kohen v'Levi shekiblu miYisrael haMaitzah Sholem. In other words, in our Mishnah also we should say that a Kohen Levi received the olives from a Yisrael. In other words, the Kohen Levi, the contractors, they should get to keep the mices on the entire thing. Shamanas came both. In other words, if we make land, olives reflect the halacha by land, then according to Rabbi, not only should it reflect the halacha of land where a Kohen Levi contracts out the work to somebody else, but it should reflect the halacha of land also where the Kohen and Levi are the contractors. That would make it reflexive and logical. Okay? Parasu Shekohen, now if that's the case, also, we have the following it's really a brisa. Parasu Shekohen tries to suma etzel Yisrael. A Kohen had a cow. This cow was contracted out to Yisrael who was raising it. So the halach is they get to split the profits from the cow. V'yolda b'chor. Now this cow, which is contracted out to Yisrael, gave birth to b'chor. So Rabbi Yehuda, following Shita, says, "Ha-b'chor l'kohen, divrei Rabbi Yehuda." It's understood that if there's a b'chor, it's going to go to the kohen. Just like in our Mishnah, it's understood that the mice will go to the kohen who's the owner of the olives. So here it's understood that the b'chor will go to the kohen who's the owner of the cow, divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Chachamim consistent with their Shita over here, ein ha-b'chor l'shneihem. They have to divide up the b'chor. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda said, don't you agree with me by land that there the Kohen and Levi who share crop out to Yisrael can retain the entire Trumas of Maasros? What's the difference over here? Rulo, and here we finally come to the distinction. I'll tell you why. The field always belongs to the Kohen. The sharecropper never actually gets rights to the field. All he gets is the right to work it. So therefore the Kohen Levi can retain the rights to the Trumas Maasros of the field. However, here, the para, when you give a para to a contractor to raise, he gets ownership rights in it. When you give olives out to a presser to press, he gets ownership rights in them. And therefore, this same arrangement, which the Kohen or Levi can demand in a sharecropping agreement, they cannot demand in a contractor agreement. Right, because the kinyan payers of the para and of the zaysim is like a kinyan guf, supposed to buy the land. That's right. So it says the Gemara. We agree with you. If the para still was wholly and solely owned by the Kohen, the Bechor would belong to the Kohen by himself. The Tani came, we learned this in a brayso. Hasam b'achrayus sheneim. If you're both contracting out your cow, so that belongs to both of them, both the owner and the contractor. Now the next one should be asocher. If you rent out your cow, you're not contracting it, you're renting it, then b'achrayus enosi, then it remains the responsibility of the owner, and therefore if the Kohen contracted out his cow to somebody else to raise it, a professional shepherd, then the Bechor which is born is split 50-50. If the Kohen, however, rented out his cow to somebody else, then the proceed, then the Bechor which is born goes to the Kohen in its entirety, because there's no kinyan for the shepherd has no inherent kinyan in it. He just is renting it out. Okay, it's the difference between sham, meaning contracting, and renting. Okay. Now going along a little bit on further on these lines, a Kohen which gave money to Israel, likach lo bohen peros, to buy with the fruit, lemach tzishar, and they're going to sell the fruit and divide up the proceeds. Amar lo, so he said to him, the Kohen said, Hosiru p'chapachsu. If there's gain or loss, if the fruit appreciates or depreciates in value, shali, I'll suffer the loss. V'maisu shelcha. You take the meisters. Okay? No, it's part and parcel of your payment for dealing with the fruit. You, the Yisrael, take the maasros. Mutter, that's okay. So fine, we agree. That deal is acceptable. That's pashut. What about the following case? Yisrael shenasa mos l'kohen. Yisrael gave money to a kohen. Liach lo bohem peiros l'machzi schar. The same deal, but in reverse. That the kohen should buy fruit. Amar lo, and Yisrael says, Osir b'chostu, if they go up or down in value, shali, I'll suffer the loss or get the gain. Fa'maisu shelcha, you take the meiser. You, the kohen, who's working with the fruit. Im naslo schar, if besides giving him the truma and meiser, I give him also wages, that's mutter. If you love, it's not, it's also why, because I'm giving him his truma as part and parcel of his wages. That's like kohen mesayah bebeis agronos, for his doing the work, I'm giving him truma, that's forbidden. Okay? Yisrael she'amocher zeisim b'shishim lug, tzavuli. Yisrael was selling olives in a measure of 60 lug, and they were tevel. Amar lo. So he gave them to a kohen. The kohen wants to buy them. The kohen says, "Give them to me now." Same levi needs those in the. He actually is. He's borrowing them. He's not really buying them. So he says, "Give them to me, and I'll give you back 60 lug, which are not tevel, from which the truma and meiser have been taken off already." Mutter. It's okay. Why? Because it's not ribbis. Why it's not ribbis? Because the kohen can eat all 60 lug. Why can the kohen eat all 60 lug? Because he's a kohen. So he can eat truma, he can eat meiser, he can eat everything. So therefore, it's not a problem of ribbis, because 60 lug of tevel for a kohen is 60 lug of edible food. So that's not ribbis. He can take the 60 and give back 60. Even the 60 he's giving back are not tevel, but rather fixed up. However, that's mutter. Shishim lug tfulim. If I take 60 lug of tevel, however, from you, and I'm going to give you back half stuff which is meiser, and half stuff which is not meiser, meaning you will divide a responsibility, meiser's on the way, when I give it back to you, that's also. So ask me, what's the difference? If to give him all metukon is good, so if you give him only half metukon, it's bad. That's against logic. It's counterintuitive. Rabbi Yosef said no. You're right. Hypothetically, it should be the same case. In the same case, there's a factor missing, which is more a variable missing, which Gemara forgot to throw in. That in the end, he's saying, I'll give you half of it fixed up because you'll give me added time before I have to give it back to you. In other words, I'll do the tircha of fixing up half of it if you give me extra time to pay you back. That's also, because what's that? That's ribbis. I'm willing to do work for you giving me extra time. The Tanya learns the brisa. If the Yisrael says, I'll give it to you for a longer time, if you give me back fixed up as opposed to tevel, that's also mishum ribbis. It's ribbis mishum bizayin kachim, and also bizayin of trumas and meisers, that you're making deals here based on whether trumas and meisers are taken off or not. Okay, how much further do we have to do in order to do 2 blot? 4 or 5 lines? Okay, let's do 4 or 5 lines. Beishamrim lo yimkor adam es zeisav. I really want to finish by next Wednesday. Beishamrim lo yimkor adam es zeisav el chaver. You're only allowed to sell your olives to a chaver, meaning to somebody who's going to be makbid on tahara. Ubeisil omrim aflu meiser. As long as he's makbid on meiser, I don't care if it's makbid on tahara. Beisnue beisil, however, the people who are pious. Tznueh means people who are humble, but here it means pious. The pious in Beisil are you knocking to Beis Shammai, they conduct themselves like Beis Shammai and only sell to people who they were sure be makbid on Torah. Rabbi Yochanan said, "Tam de Beis Hillel." What's the logic of Beis Hillel? Now here the Gears is messed up again. First, not yet, but in a minute. Derech me'adam lochos osayim atunim. People eat their zaysim dry. Atunim means dry. So they're never mukshel kabel tuma. Now here's the Gra outside. He said, what? The people eat their olives dry? Get out of here. Everybody moistens their olives before they eat them. Ella, what's the pshat? Aidei ila. Basil found an excuse to be matur this. Hi, it's a very, very remote excuse because most people don't eat their olives dry. But since it's possible to eat the olives dry, so Basil relied on that and we're matur it. Basil Kedaito, this is similar to Basil sheet in other places. The Tzniya we learned, Lo yimkar lo porach horeshet b'shvius. You're not allowed to sell somebody a plowing cow during Shemitah. Why? Because what's he going to use it for? It's going to plow with it. Basil matirin. It still is matirin. Because maybe he's going to shecht it. And here too, forchet the barnash, make us turdy day. Is a person going to shecht his plowing cow? How unheard of. Again, Aidei Ilah. That was they found an excuse in order to allow it. True remote, but sufficient to allow it. The Shavin, both of them agree. Shumochel shibolin lisaso. Even Beit Shammai concedes you can sell some is not being antara grain for his dough. Hi, Avo Bisheni Yodea, Abishodeh also so betara. Hi, you know he does not make me antara, but it's much more prevalent. People eat dry grain because people toast grain cereal. They make toasted grain cereal, so therefore there's more of a, even Beit Shammai concede that there's much more of a possibility that it won't be Mukshal Kabel Tuma. Tani, but we learned as a result, Shavin, everybody agrees, Shem Mochin Godish Shel Chitin, you can't sell a pile of grain which is already Mukshal Kabel Tuma, Vavit Shanovim, and a basket of grapes which is already also Mukshal Kabel Tuma because they're moist, Umaton Jleitz, and a basket of olives which is also moist, El Lemi Chaver, only except to start to the Chaver, vis-a-vis Meisters, and Lemi Shudeh, Shoso B'tar, and you know he's going to make a B'tar. Okay? So in that case, you have to be makbid. Alright, we'll stop here for today. We'll pick up with this next week. He lives very nearby.